Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to optimize your website for search from mobile devices. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our event today is presented to you by Dell. Dell supports and cares deeply about helping small businesses learn and grow, in addition to being a very valued Manta partner. And all of this is an effort today to give small businesses the power to do more. Thanks to Dell, one lucky attendee, which we'll select at the end of the webinar today, will win a new Dell Venue 11 Pro tablet. In today's webinar, you're going to learn the things you need to consider when setting up a mobile site, as well as how to put your best foot forward for search engines when people search using their mobile device. But before we dive in, let's cover some of our housekeeping items, helping you to get the most out of today's webinar. First, letting you know that everyone is automatically on mute. So for this webinar, we will hold all Q&A to the end of the presentation, but feel free if you do have questions throughout just to chat them to us in the box at the right of your screen. And lastly, we do encourage you to take notes, but please keep in mind that we will be recording this presentation and we will email not only the PDF to you, but a link to the replay after the event is over. So with that, let me introduce our presenter. Jason Kepi is a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Manta, where he is responsible for driving growth and engagement for our millions of small business customers. He has over 16 years of search and online marketing experience, and he specializes in building no-theory, direct response, analytics-driven marketing programs. Woo! Mouthful. To grow businesses and to really get results. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
Thanks, Christy, and welcome everyone to today's event. We're so glad that you came to this event and really want to dive into mobile and specifically mobile SEO because there really is no well, I should say this and then somebody will prove me wrong, but I don't think there's any bigger trend than the move from desktop to mobile and including mobile into people's lives. So anyway, we're excited to share this, and so let's just jump right in. So what we're going to cover today is really a couple things, how influential mobile really is to your business. A lot of people are talking about mobile, but to your business specifically, how mobile searches are different and how to capitalize on that. Then we're going to go through the difference between mobile-friendly and mobile SEO and what it means to you, because there is a difference and you need to know about and probably care about both. Then we're going to talk about how to know which type of mobile site to set up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 10 things you absolutely have to do to compete in mobile search, and then the 4 things you really need to avoid at all costs to be ignored or to avoid being ignored or penalized by the search engines. So then we'll have Q&A and we'll give away a tablet thanks to Dell. So let's jump right in. Mobile is a big deal, and I think most people know that, but just in case you're one of those people that need to be convinced, I'd say 3 things about mobile, how big it really is. It's become indispensable to daily life for most people. It helps people navigate their world, and it's changed the way consumers shop. So some stats to talk to those things. First, 80% of people don't leave home without their smartphone. I mean, that's huge. Next, 96% of those people have researched a product on their phone. And lastly, 94% of smartphone users have looked for local info, and then 90% of those people have taken some action as a result. Now, what that means is that they've either gone to a store or they've purchased something, or they've contacted a business, but they've taken some action as a result. So it is these are stats that you just can't ignore as a business owner, and so that's why you're here. I'm assuming you know that. So let's first define what mobile is Google's way. And I say Google, but it's all search engines, right? So feature phones, somewhere between the flip phone and the smartphone, slide, QWERTY keyboard. Samsung made a ton, Motorola made them. Everybody seems like they made a few of these. They have a user interface, they have a menu, and it's probably a little bit more functional than a flip phone, again, but not a full smartphone. And then smartphones. This is what we mean when we talk about mobile. Now, you say, well, what about tablets? Well, we haven't left them out. Tablets to Google and to search engines are technically defined as not as mobile, but so what they'll tell you is to send your desktop site to a tablet, and we agree in most cases that's probably the right thing to do. But there are times when you need to think about tablet users and where the mindset, the place that a person's in when they're on a tablet device. And so I'll mention some things as we go through the webinar today to really call out that and hopefully for you to think about in your business. All right, so let's go back to circa 1997, 6. Ask.com, formerly Ask Jeeves, started a new way of actually asking people to get questions from them or to search. And it was conversational search. They didn't call it that then. It was just really Ask Jeeves a question. And so it was usually questions that they were searching for. So all the rave right now is Google Hummingbird and the new update. And if you're in the SEO community at all, you've heard about it, you know about it, you're maybe even scared about it. Google Hummingbird at its foundation really rests in and talks to the conversational aspect of search. So this has been coming for quite some time, but voice search on mobile devices like smartphones, Droid, iPhones have made this faster and easier, and it's only going to make it more fast, more easy, and more broadly accepted. I mean, I text from voice, I email people, I send craft emails with voice, I do commands with voice. I mean, I have a Droid and I use it for almost everything. And now I'm finding that I do search way different. You know, Indian restaurant near me, or closest hotel that, you know, you get the point. But it's give me questions, or I'm giving Google questions and hope that they're going to give me an answer back that meets my needs where I'm at and with what I'm thinking. So usually they're questions. So with that, what questions, let me ask you to think about this in your business. What questions are your prospects asking? And what questions are your prospects asking themselves when they need you? So specifically on mobile, and how is it different from desktop? So we really want to know here, what I want you as a business owner to think about is, if I'm a restaurant and I have someone on their desktop site, their tablet, back up, their laptop at their house, their desktop computer at their house, and they're looking for a restaurant, that's one frame of mind. If they're on their mobile device and they're looking for a restaurant, well, that's another frame of mind. That's something different, and I want everyone to think about that from your specific business. Now, restaurants and service providers sometimes have it easier. They get all the press and people talk about them. You may be a chiropractor, you may be an attorney, you may be a roofer. Whatever your business is, think about what are your perfect prospects. What questions will they be asking the search engine to find you when they need you? Okay, things to consider. They're on the go. So err on the side of terse and to the point. Get to the point. Get to it in a short amount of text, but don't put zero text. There's two aspects to mobile or to any SEO: on page and off page. On page optimization refers to the text, images, and content on the site. So if there's too little text, Google doesn't know what this site or this page is about, and so oftentimes they will sometimes either get it wrong or not get it the way you wanted it to be understood, your page or your site, because there's not enough text. So err on the side of terse and to the point, but do that in a way where Google knows what this page is about. The screen is small, so no horizontal scrolling. Think of horizontal scrolling as a big no-no in any web world that you can think of. Okay, so 320 pixels is really the limit of horizontal scrolling you want to think about. And by the way, I want to mention this as we get to this pixels and we're talking about tech. I'm trying to keep this webinar today at a very non-tech level. Now, SEO is a technical topic. We will dive into technical issues, but I don't want to scare people who really just want to run their business and be found when people search off of the content or think that they need to zone out and then just hand this off to their webmaster. There'll be things you need to do to hand this off to your web guy or your web person if you don't understand, but I'm going to try and keep it at a pretty basic level so you can understand what the basics are and you get that, so then you can communicate effectively with the technology people in your world. Okay, so anyway, back to screen scrolling. 320 pixels is the limit. Make sure you keep that in mind. And then load time, probably not enough could possibly be said about load time. It's critical, and it really becomes hypercritical in mobile. The normal impatience, right, in video world, we say that you've got 7 seconds to hook someone in a video before they decide whether they're going to keep watching. If it's 7 seconds in video on desktop, it's 1 second in mobile. You really have this I want it and I want it now mentality that you have to respond to. Also, Google wants you and rewards you, encourages you to display those pages in under 1 second. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. More things to consider here is that static is better. Static versus dynamic. The option to static is dynamic. What that means for the non-tech crowd is just that it's content that doesn't dynamically change based on anything, based on a browser, based on time of day, but it's not programming. There's no programming or very little programming. So static content, no animated content unless it's user requested. And if you do have a video that you want to play, that's fine, but just make it click to play, no autoplay videos. That's a big no-no in mobile especially. And then less is more. Let's go back to that click to play videos because I think that's the Achilles heel of marketers. Autoplay videos do get watched more, but autoplay videos are hated more. Does it make sense? So you'll hear a lot of gurus like maybe me say, hey, don't do autoplay videos, but and I know they work better, but I'm just saying on mobile device, nobody wants to be having to try to shut off a video on their phone. All right, less is more. So simplicity is critical here. You really just want them to be able to find what they need to find. Think about the user. If you've heard any content from me ever, I'm a big proponent of thinking about the user, but this couldn't be any more critical here. Think really about what they want, and you'll get what you want. If you think about what they want, they're hectic, they're on the go, they're trying to find something quickly, and you put too much in front of them, it's just not going to work. You need to think simple and keep it simple on your site. So that's a little bit of a subjective thing, so I thought I'd show you some big sites that do a pretty good job of doing this. So let's look at simplicity. This is the desktop version and the mobile version of each site. Desktop on the left, mobile version of the same on the right. And so you can see on the desktop version you can't read really anything except for spring dresses, and really at this size I couldn't even read their logo. But again, you can see that there's a search box, but get your thumb right on that perfect place, not going to work. You go over to the right-hand side, it's shop by department. There's a little shopping cart on the right-hand side. If you've already gotten items in your cart, it's easy to get there. So they want you to buy from your mobile device. Searching is easy. And then really, what are you going to read this month? It's their, promotion for their, their Nook or whatever. So you've really got the or Kindle, but you really got the whole landscape of what they want you to do right in front of you. So next would be Walgreens. Okay, so Walgreens, again, it would be hard to interact with this site on a desktop. Now again, I know you can scroll in, I know you can zoom in and get into the content, but really look at the difference between the left and the right. If you're on your mobile device and you want to know where the nearest Walgreens pharmacy is, you just came from the urgent care, you can do that. Find Near Me or Pharmacy and Health, and it's right there in front of you. Also, I wanted you to know too, if you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right down here underneath weekly ads and coupons is view the full site. We're going to talk later about that, but you want to give them the access to the full site as well, the desktop version of the site. If they choose to go over here and interact with your full website like this, they should be able to, and you should allow them to. There's ways to link and redirect content back and forth that makes that easy. And so we really need you to, I really think it's important for you to know you need to let them get to the desktop version of the site, and that's important to know. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you two examples of what simplicity means to me, and really what I think it should mean to you. All right, now mobile friendly versus search engine optimized. Let's slow down just a little bit here and talk about this, because if you are if you're listening to gurus, sometimes I don't feel like we or they do a good job of differentiating here on this mobile friendly aspect versus search engine optimized. And so what I'd love to just recommend is that mobile friendly is what we just kind of looked at. It's how do you display the content, what content makes it to your mobile site, how are you going to set up your site, is the content able to be consumed in a mobile device without regard to how it appears or where it appears in search. Okay, search engine optimized, SEO, is how you can get that content for any given search to rank higher. Does it make sense? So let's go to the next topic that I want to cover with regards to that. So when it comes to mobile friendly, there's infrastructure, but infrastructure has this dual ability to cross both worlds, and you need to care about it in both worlds. So for mobile friendly, whether you have a responsive site or a separate mobile site or a dynamic site, it's part of the conversation. And then for search engine optimization, you'll hear it as part of the conversation as well. So you really want to know that some topics like infrastructure will cross over and be talked about by people who are talking about both mobile friendliness of your site, as well as the SEO aspects of your site. So there's 3 options. Really, we're going to talk about 2 today. The responsive site and the separate mobile site. Dynamic is not, there's nothing, I guess, negative or wrong with it. A lot of SEOs still do recommend dynamic, but what I would say is that Google doesn't recommend it, therefore I don't want to recommend it, and it's probably the most complicated technically to set up as well, and so I'm just shying away from it because of that. And I think with the other 2 and the hybrid we're going to give you today, you can do really well and not really worry about dynamic in that sense. All right, so let's look at responsive. We're going to talk about what this means and give it to you in a way that you can understand if this is the first time you're hearing that. But for some of you, this may be a little bit of a review, but hang with me because we'll get to the technical stuff at the end. Keeping it simple, responsive sites just respond to the device they're being accessed on. So large for larger screens, small for smaller screens. I know for the tech people in the webinar that's a little bit simplistic and it's maybe a little bit oversimplistic, but that's good enough to understand what it means. Some of the pros and cons: one site to keep updated, there's less to maintain. So when you think about a responsive site, it's the same content on the desktop and the mobile, but it's displayed differently. It might be columns shift to one, multiple columns shift to one, or images are sliced in such a way that sliced. Their images are displayed in such a way that they can wrap and stack, and really it'll look good. We'll go through that. You'll see that in a second. Cons for next pro is that Google recommends this option. Keep in mind, especially for the SEOs that might be hearing this, Google hasn't really said. They have in the past, but going forward, I think they're going to maybe back off from a really detailed and recommendation that they're going to say, hey, responsive is the way to go. They have a set of guidelines. We're going to link to those and give you a link to those, but Google does recommend it now. I think separate mobile sites are also, they tell you how to do it and they talk to you about things to consider. So they're not putting their hat in one camp or the other more than the other. But anyway, that's just something to recognize. Also, cons. All desktop content still gets downloaded. So, for example, if you think about the fact that we want to keep things simple and we want maybe to give different content to each of the mobile versus desktop, if all the desktop content gets downloaded, including JavaScript and any videos or any kind of other content you have, especially if there's Flash or anything like that, you're going to push that content down to the desktop or down to the mobile device, and that may not be exactly what you want to do. Okay. Also, streamlined. It's just a streamlined version of the same site and content. That's why one of the pros is that it's one site to keep updated, but it's also, you can't really give it different calls to action, different buttons, different things to call out. Okay, does that make sense? So let's look at some examples. So companies using responsive. Microsoft, the Boston Globe, Target, and Grey Goose. You're in good company if you choose to go this way. But really, it's not about who's doing it. It's about what's best for you and your business, and most of all, what's best for your users. So although this is a little small, you can see here on the far left would be the mobile version of the desktop version of the site on the far right. So you can see here there's content that gets on the left-hand side that gets wrapped, that gets positioned in different ways so that the user can navigate the site. Also, the menu gets wrapped up into what's often referred to as the hamburger or the icon that you can get to the menu items in your mobile site. So it's just the same exact content, nothing different, but just positioned in different ways so that it looks better and is more easily consumed by the user. All right. So next we'll go to a separate mobile site. All right. This is just like it sounds. I really can't even make it more simple than this. It's just a completely separate site. It can be located at a different URL or web address, and I recommend that you do that. So an example might be yoursite.com/mobile. yoursite.com/m or m.yoursite.com. Now, you've heard this term probably m. or what's the m. version of your site. That's what that means, m.yoursite.com. So if that's new to you, now you know what that means. Pros for this is the design, the navigation, and all the calls to action can be completely different. And in often cases, you'll find out if your business is one of these soon, it should be. All right, I'll tell you how to decide if that's the case. but oftentimes it should be, and so this is a pro to this design. Also, it can handle the mobile-only content. So if there's content you only want to display and let your mobile users consume and desktop users not consume, then it's able to handle that and do that. The cons are there are 2 sites to keep updated. So there's a little bit more maintenance here. If you're having someone do that, it could be a little bit more cost, and then there may be an initial higher cost, higher initial cost, and higher time. Longer time to set this up because of that. So just keep that in mind. Let's go to some examples now. So when you look at examples, you're looking at being Caribou Coffee, Hyundai, Abercrombie & Fitch. So when you look at the 3 examples here, I wanted to show you the mobile sites for each of those, and this may change by the time you're viewing this, but you can see Location Finder for Caribou, right? The located dealer for Hyundai. And then really on A&F, you've got Find a Store, you've got the sale that's happening. Really look through these links. A lot of thought for each one of these companies, I'm sure, has got into what goes on this page, what goes in the mobile site, and what goes in the mobile content that the user gets to consume. And so really thinking about this for yourself. Now let's take it away from Caribou and Hyundai and A&F, right? To the small business, to the restaurant, to the chiropractor, to you. What do you need to be? What needs to be on your mobile site for your users? What do your users want to consume most, and what order should they go in? Look at Caribou. First is Location Finder, then it's Menu Nutrition, then it's Offers, then Sign Up. Sign up for what? We don't know, but I'm assuming the rewards program or something. And then About Them. Think about that for your users and really give them what they want. So, how do you know what's right for you? Here's an easy way, probably again, maybe somewhat too simplistic, but an easy way for you to try to begin to think about what's right for you. How different is your mobile users' needs than your desktop users' needs? If they're extremely different, then you probably need a separate mobile site. If they're not very different, then responsive might be good for you. It might be a very good option for you, and it might be something you can consider. Other considerations, now again, I said it could be too simplistic. That's really at the heart of it what you need to consider. There are other considerations, right? Budget, maintenance, mobile-only content that may need to be consumed from your site. But really what you want to consider is, does one of the other of those solutions meet your needs best? If so, go that direction. Now if you say, well, some mobile content I let my users consume, but I also have some content on my desktop site that I wouldn't need to change up too much, then maybe a hybrid solution is good for you. And here's what I mean by hybrid. You could host your mobile homepage, and a lot of SEOs recommend this too. Some don't. Some are. I mean, the SEOs are all over the map with what they recommend, and for good reason. They may have good reasons to do it, to recommend different things. But here's what we're saying with a hybrid solution could work. You host your mobile homepage and your mobile-only pages at your m. or your subdomain. We prefer the m/m. By the way, I don't think I said that earlier. We prefer /m to m. Now here's why. It's real simple. And it's not a huge thing either way. If you choose to do m. It's not going to hurt you that much. But I believe that, well, we know that Google assigns authority to domains. And the domain authority goes to the domain name, yoursite.com. m.yoursite.com is a subdomain. Without going into the technical details of what that means, it's just a different www.yoursite.com is different than m.yoursite.com. It could have different content. It's viewed differently by the search engines. And so, if you put your mobile site at the www.yoursite.com/m, then any authority that gets attributed to your mobile content or your mobile site is going to get attributed to your domain and help your domain. So that's just something to keep in mind. We recommend that. Again, huge deal? Probably not, but it is every little bit helps you. And then all the other content you would have would be responsive. So if you have desktop content that you really want to push out that's the same for mobile and desktop, then you can make that responsive. And so you've really got the best of both worlds. You've got the one site aspect that's there for everyone and responsive for the people that need it on their mobile device, and then you've got the specific content that that can be viewed, and you've got the best of both worlds. All right. So we're going to cover the major foundation of this webinar was to cover the specifics of mobile SEO. So I fought hard to get this slide in because I really want to make sure basic SEO is covered here just a little bit, that you know basic SEO applies. And so really what we want to make sure here is basic SEO doesn't change from mobile to desktop. Keyword research, good content creation, thinking about the user more than the search engine, and then linking and grouping your content together in a way that makes sense both to users and to search engines is always going to be the foundation of all good SEO. Always, yeah, I think it will be. So what do we mean by this? Keyword research. There's tools out there. I'll probably try to include some free resources for you in the replay PDF that'll give you some free tools and some paid tools for keyword research. There's a ton out there. You can Google that and find some. But find some keyword research tools that you can use to tell you what people are searching for. But don't lose common sense. Common sense is the best keyword research tool to start with, and then you put what you know people might be searching on into the search terms for the tool. Next, content creation. So don't ever think that you can do really great SEO without at least some good content creation. You need to put out good content that people want to consume, and then search engines will offer that content up when they search. And then content linking and grouping just says, okay, if you've got content that could be similar, maybe you've got a battery store and you've got cell phone batteries and mobile phone batteries. That's really the same content, right? It's the same type of thing that people are looking for. Both of those should be optimized in the same page. And so really with Hummingbird, you're really looking at topics more than keywords anyway. So that's a good thing. And then just linking between different content groups or silos, we call them sometimes in SEO, but different veins of content. So if you've got cell phone batteries and then power tool batteries, those are two different types of, they're all batteries, but they're two different silos of content. And you may want to link between those in some way. All right, so that's the basic SEO foundation, and it really matters because that's what you start with. The tips and the things we're going to talk about next are mobile specific, but they're in addition to and on top of this. All right, here's the 10 must-do mobile SEO tips that I've got for you. All right, now just before I go forward, the keeping it non-technical disclaimer, I have to go a little bit technical now. So I'll try to go as little tech as I can, but if you have questions that are technical, by all means, fire them away. We can answer those. I want to try to keep this at a high level, and so that you can give this off to anybody who's helping you with your mobile SEO. All right, Google has guidelines. Use them. They're there for a reason. They put them out to tell you what they expect, to tell you what they want, and to tell you how to comply. You should. So we're going to provide a resource slide at the end of this that's going to have those links to those guidelines, and it'll be for responsive, for separate mobile site. I'll even include dynamic in there if you want to consider that, but it'll all be there. You should, if you're going to do it, you should know it and live it and love it. If you're going to hire it out, you should make sure that whoever's you're paying to do the site for you uses them and adheres to them. All right. Again, we talked about this, but put your mobile site at either /m or /mobile so that it authority transfers and keeps, not transfers, but stays on your domain. I use HTML5. HTML5 is supported by the most browsers. It's the industry standard. It's lightweight, which is really good for mobile. It's mobile friendly in way more ways than anything else. If that hasn't convinced you, probably nothing will. Use HTML5 for your mobile site. Make desktop pages accessible to mobile users. We talked a little bit about this, but make sure that people can get back and forth between the two sites. It's important because, number one, Google says they want to see that in linking in specific ways. But number two, it's just a better user experience in case that person, again, wants to see the desktop site. I've been there myself. We probably all have. You go to a mobile site, if the mobile version of the site comes up, and then you decide, I've been to the desktop version. I'm not seeing what I want. I want to go to that desktop version and see that, and I'll zoom in to get it. Number 5, create unique and keyword-rich title tags for mobile content. Title tags are probably, on the on-page world, probably still the most important on-page factor for SEO. And so you really want unique. Every one of them should be unique. And that goes for desktop and mobile. And then everyone should be keyword-rich, not keyword-loaded, not keyword-spammed, hear me right, I'm going to slow down here, keyword rich. If you're trying to rank for a keyword, phrase, or a topic, put it in your title tag one time in a common sense, human-friendly way. Have I been more clear? Can I be more clear? Don't spam keywords in your title tag. It's not helpful. Google knows how to spot this out. It's just not going to work. So create unique and keyword-rich titles for your mobile content and for your desktop content. 6, create mobile sitemaps for mobile-specific content. A sitemap is just, if you don't know what a sitemap is, a sitemap is a link-only, heavily linked, very little graphics. I mean, you can have your header and footer and your look and feel, but it's a page that gets sent to the search engines to tell them all the content that you want them to crawl. This can be in the form of a user-friendly consumable sitemap that's displayed on the site to the users, or it can be an XML sitemap that you use via Webmaster Tools or however you get it to Google and display it. That goes into more tech than we need to go into, but make sure you have them. Number 7, include enough on-page text to convey the relevance of what your content is about to the search engines. We talked a little bit about this before, but again, if your content is about Nike running sneakers, lightweight Nike running sneakers, and you really only have maybe it's a bad example probably because maybe sneakers don't have model numbers, but you have the sneaker name or the model number, the Nike brand, and then you have the price, right? Well, that's not enough on-page content for Google to know that that particular sneaker is the lightweight running sneaker, if that's what you want to be found for. Makes sense? So include enough on-page content so that you can convey the relevance to Google and Bing. Make sure load time is under 1 second. I've said it, I think, at least 3 times in this last half hour. Make sure it's as close to or at under 1 second if you can. It's really going to make a difference for your users, and it's going to make a big deal for how Google looks at the site. Don't rely on CSS, JavaScript. Blackberries don't even have it enabled, and again, that could change. But again, it's more heavyweight. It's not as lightweight as it could be, and you really want to have that lightweight sort of feel going into a mobile site. And number 10, I suppose, is a must-do tip, but it's really my last vehement request to you to make sure that you do have a mobile version of your site. So responsive or separate or hybrid, make sure there's something there, because Google will penalize sites that don't cater to searches done on mobile devices. That said, positively, Google will give higher rank to sites that do cater to searches done on mobile devices. This is just a common sense thing. They're out to give their users the most relevant and pleasing web experience they can when someone does a search. If your site's not mobile friendly and that person's on a device that Google knows is mobile device, you don't fit that bill. All right, that's the 10 must-do mobile SEO tips. There's 100 different things that could have been said here. I think I tried to pick the biggest things that I want you to do and focus on, and make sure that your web development, either firm or company, is helping with. All right, here's the 4 must-avoid mobile SEO warnings. I've tried to put it all red and make it big. Here's the deal. You really just want to make sure you don't really do these 4 things and you avoid this stuff, really, because it's going to hurt you in the end. So avoid hosted solutions. Currently, today, there's not a good hosted solution that really does it like you would if you built by hand or you want responsive. So build it by hand or go responsive to keep it simple. But that could change. But right now, avoid hosted solutions because they're not as good as the alternative. Don't block a mobile site from crawlers with the robots.txt. Anybody who's not familiar with what a robot.txt file is, it's the file that allows you to tell Google and search engines what content you want to make available to the crawlers. A crawler, just in case that's a new term to you, is the program or some people call them spiders or bots that the search engines have that go out and try to find through linking from link to link on each site in the web, try to find all the new sites. And so sites will, the bots or the crawlers will come to your site and they'll crawl each version of your site, and you can tell it with the robots.txt file which directories or files or images or content you don't want it to find or know about. So you have a login, some content you want to protect with login, you can do that, right? That's one we use for it. So don't hide your mobile site from the crawlers when it comes to or desktop or mobile. Avoid Flash. It's not even supported by iPhone or Android browsers. So just don't put Flash video content or Flash content on there, and avoid JavaScript. It's just heavier weight, right? It's more code, going to be harder to get under 1 second load time, and it can just slow your device down, slow down your user on devices with slow processors or what have you. Okay, so I know we went quick, but that was a lot of content to get through. So we are at the place in the webinar where we need to give away, thanks to Dell, a Dell Venue Pro 11 tablet. But I think we need to select that. We're going to select from the attendees. So, Chrissy, why don't we take a question first, and I'll let you select the winner of the tablet while we do that.
Sounds like a good plan. Thanks, Jason. A lot of questions rolling in, so if you do have questions, feel free to chat them in right now. They're coming fast and furious, so I'll try to keep up with them. But there are a few that actually popped up multiple times. So one question here, Jason from Larry, he asked, are there SEO downsides to using a responsive WordPress site?
No, it's a good question, Larry. WordPress is a content management system for anybody who doesn't know. WordPress is a really great way to get a site up that looks good, pretty inexpensively. It's a great way for a DIYer to get a site up. And so, Larry, no, if you get a responsive template or theme, they call them. Actually, I should use the WordPress lingo. If you get a responsive theme that looks good to you, and you think that that's the best way for your users to interact with your content, that's a great way to go. In fact, even if you don't think that's the best way for your users to interact with your content, go with a responsive theme until you can get a separate mobile site built if that's what you have to do. It's much better as an interim than not having anything at all. So that's a great question, and no, I love SEO responsive themes on WordPress, so perfect.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Another one here, and they're coming fast, so it's hard to keep up with the names, but I think Joanne asked, what do you mean by a hosted solution?
Hosted solution just means, and I'm going to stray away from giving out names or examples, but hosted solution is just a one-stop shop for like a mobile presence, and so they can give you a theme and a look and feel that you can plug in your information, and voila, you have a mobile site. We just want you to stay away from that, as opposed to, like Larry's option is really good because WordPress is your a theme you would go choose or have built for you. It's your content, you put it in, you control it. It's on your web hosting, wherever your hosting is right now. Hosted solution just is saying, hey, I want to give off the control of my mobile site to another place in a separate hosting facility with different, less flexible content.
Okay. With the content I create for my mobile site, this is in from Mike, would I want that content to be unique just to my mobile site?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's actually one of the things we talked a little bit about. So I'll dive in a little bit more because that's a good. You said Mike. That's a good question, Mike. So it could be. You could have mobile. You might need to have mobile-only content. Let me see if I could think of an example. Mobile-only content. So maybe a restaurant. Use restaurants a lot. I'll try to think of something else too as we go through this. But a restaurant might have mobile-only content in the fact that it might have, knowing that I have a user who has a device that has a GPS on it. I might offer a special link to get that map pulled up really easily, so that you can just on a Google Droid or a Droid navigate really quickly, or what have you, in a different place than I would on the desktop version. Right? Or let's think menus. So maybe the menu is something I don't want to be in a 46 megabyte PDF file because I'm a high-end restaurant. Instead, I want that menu to be a little bit more lightweight, and so I'm going to choose a selection of the menu that is going to give them a feel for what the restaurant offers, and I'm going to put that up to the mobile user. And on the desktop version, yeah, you can get the whole enchilada with the 52 megabyte PDF, whatever it is. It's kind of a lot. I don't know if I've ever seen a menu be 50 megs, but that's the idea. So mobile-only content can be a really good thing, and you might even have. Some people talk about mobile-only content in the terms of like the calls to action too. Like, let's look at your homepage. Your homepage for if you look at the Amazon and the Walgreens examples I gave, those have to be mobile only because there's two totally different user experiences. So that's mobile-only content. Technically, that homepage that has the buttons for pharmacy and store locator, that's different content for the mobile device. So depending on what you do, Mike, you might need mobile-only content. But like Larry in his example, if he goes responsive, he won't have mobile-only content. He'll have his desktop content in a responsive form.
More questions, or should we select our winner?
I think let's get to the winner. I'm excited to see who won.
All right. And we have plenty of questions, so we will get back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
But I do want to say thanks again to Dell. We have a Dell Venue Pro 11 tablet to give away to one lucky attendee, and I'm proud to say we have selected the winner. The winner of the tablet is Dan with Squeaky Clean Services.
Nice. Congratulations, Dan.
So, Dan, we will be contacting you. Someone will be contacting you, likely via email or phone in the next few days to let you know how we can deliver your new Dell Venue Pro 11 tablet to you. So, thanks again. So, let's get back to questions. They are continuing to come back in fast. Let's see. Ashley asks, does Google penalize your site if you don't have mobile in the URL, but the site itself is still mobile?
Hard to know exactly, Ashley. So hard to know exactly, Ashley, what you mean by that. But let me assume I'll assume both ways, maybe, that I could take that. If you're looking at just the URL itself and saying you've got a mobile-friendly site, but the word mobile isn't in it, no. They won't look at that at all. They don't care. They see the word mobile or even M. I used M a lot. It could be anything. You can make your mobile version of your site, yoursite.com/JasonRocks or whatever. You don't want to do that, but anyway. But it doesn't have to be M. It doesn't have to be mobile. They're not looking at the URL. What they're looking at is like you denoted, the mobile friendliness of your site. Do you have a responsive site? Do you have, and they'll know. I mean, if you talk to a web developer, look at a WordPress theme, it denotes it in what's called the metadata, that what kind of content and what kind of content it's serving. So, and then also with the sitemaps and other ways that it knows. So, if you have a mobile version of the site, no, Google will look at that fondly. Regardless of what the URL is. So I think that's what you meant, but type back if I got it wrong.
Okay, and we do have some pretty funny people on here today. Ian wants to know the meaning of life.
Meaning of life, Ian. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll email you after the webinar, Ian. I should give you something. I don't know what I should give you. Oh.
But luckily the other attendees are giving him that. So.
Live it well.
Yeah. We talked about that one. How often should you update your SEO?
That's
probably a good question, huh?
Yeah, it's a tough question to know exactly what you mean. Whoever asked that, if you could type back more detail, but I'll do this and take a stab at a couple different things I think you might mean. How often should you update your SEO? So, being that SEO is search engine optimization, what you're probably meaning is how often should I update my content? Now, if I'm wrong, type back, but I think what you're saying is if the content is what you want to know how to update, how often to update, while that's a perfectly normal and good question, it's not the right kind of question to ask, because Google is going to less and less be interested in little formulaic things like that, and more in whether you have a site that's robust and ever changing. So I think it's less about how often the content is getting updated versus is the content stale? Has it fallen off the map? Is it a site that, again, it never has been updated? That's maybe a problem, right? Let's back up. That is a problem. But if the blog posts aren't changing, that's not a big deal. But if you're putting out new blog posts or putting out new content, putting up something that's different every now and then, that's going to be what people care about. What search engines care about. So if it's content that you're after, that is the answer. If you're actually looking to a little bit more into the search engine optimization stuff that we do, that's tougher because obviously Google. So I'm going to give you the easy answer. The easy answer is don't worry so much about SEO tricks. Focus on good content and good foundational principles like content creation and content linking and grouping and good foundational keyword research. Focus in on what Google wants. I probably didn't even say this. I should have said it. Knowing what Google wants will help you get what you want. If you know what Google wants, and I can tell you what Google wants to increase its value to its shareholders and to its users by giving the most relevant content, that is websites, right, your websites, delivering up to its users the most relevant sites in the world better than every other search engine, every time, as fast as possible. If they do that, their ad revenue stays high, and they make a lot of money, and they keep their users happy, and everybody wins. Well, theoretically, except for the people who don't give relevant content and who might go to a formula. So again, stick with the foundations, and you won't really have to change much SEO tricks or things, getting SEO. Now, that said, SEO is very much an ongoing process, and if you don't have the time to do it or put some love into it, it's one of the best things a small business owner can invest in. And I don't say that because I used to own a company doing it. I say that because it's true. I mean, what do you have to do in a business? You have to produce something of value, find somebody that wants it, and sell it to them. And you have to do it over and over and over. And so the best long-term way to do that is to get in front of them at the point that they are looking and asking the search engine to help them find that, right? So anyway, hopefully that helps.
Okay. Jim wants to know, what about negative keywords?
Negative keywords. So Jim is clearly done some pay-per-click, paid search, Google AdWords. Negative keywords are mostly only thought of in the terms of paid search campaigns, SEM, as search engine marketing. So we don't really deal with negative keywords in search engine optimization or organic search. But great question. Negative keywords, just so anybody, just to make sure we talk the same language, is a way to say if I'm looking for, this is going to be a silly example because I can't really think of one better. Let's say I was a shoe manufacturer or shoe retailer and I only sold black shoes. So I want to be found for when somebody types shoes, or probably not, but let's go with it for now, and black shoes, but when they type brown shoes, I don't want to come up, and I certainly don't want to pay for it when that's searched on to come up. So you would put in brown as a negative or brown shoes as a negative phrase. But no, on search engine optimization, organic, you don't deal with negative keywords, so no need to worry about it.
Okay. Do responsive sites have an advantage on Google because they have more page views? Not sure if that's...
Well,
if I'm saying it right, but that's how it was written.
Well, let's look at the question. I don't know that. Well, so the answer is no, and then we'll back up to why, because the question needs a little bit of interrogation, probably. More page views don't contribute to ranking, and so that's why the easy answer is no. The more in-depth response I'd probably give is, one, why would your responsive site have more page views? I'm assuming you mean because all of your content is now delivered to the mobile user, and for some reason maybe they have more content accessible to them. If you use the hybrid solution, you wouldn't have that scenario at all. And really, even if you have a separate mobile site, they could get to the desktop site anyway if they needed to, so that wouldn't play into effect. A lot of people think that if you have more page views, in other words, you're getting hit more often or getting viewed more often. I can't believe I just said the word hit. If you're getting viewed more often, that you would get better search engine rankings. It just doesn't happen that way. So no, doesn't play a part.
Okay, we'll take just a few more here. Hello wants to know, what are some keyword tools you recommend? Yeah,
I'll include the full list in the PDF, but I'll say this: there's a couple good ones that are free to try, and they have trials and such. There's a couple that I'll recommend in the PDF as well. but still the best. I use this still. You can still get to Google's free keyword plan. It's different, right? It's very different than it used to be. It's the keyword planner now, and it's in their AdWords product. You can still get there even if you don't have an active paying AdWords account. Just sign up for an AdWords account and don't spend any money, and you can still get to that tool. It's a good tool. It's not as good as it used to be. It used to be way more helpful for SEOs and doing keyword research in several ways that I won't cover here. But it's still very good. It's still from Google. It gives you groups like keywords into good basic groups as you just type in a base root keyword like Droid phone or Android platform or whatever. And I'm looking at my phone. Mac display adapter, whatever it is, you would type that in, and it's going to do a lot of grouping for you. And so I like that tool. Probably that's my favorite one. It's the one I use still more often than not. And then like I said, I'll send you some others in the recap.
Okay. And actually, a lot of people are asking for resources, how to get started. So maybe we can expand our list a little bit.
For sure. Yeah.
Stephen wants to know, what is spamming keywords?
Good question. So spamming keywords is a technique that back in the day, I won't go so far as to say how long back in the day, people thought that you could have a better chance of ranking if you, so let's say you want to rank for iPhone 5 case. iPhone 5 case. I want to rank for iPhone 5 case, and so I'm going to, if somebody like Jason Kepi, SEO guy, says the title tag is really important, great. If I want to rank for iPhone 5 case and the title tag is really important, I'll put iPhone 5 case, the word iPhone 5 case, separated by commas 500 times in the title tag. And so they would just say it over and over and over, and it would be nonsensical, or they'd say that and other variations, iPhone 5, cool iPhone 5 case, or aluminum iPhone 5 case, whatever it is. And so the thought was, and actually probably way back in the day it actually worked, which is probably the problem, is that doing that, putting in keywords, spamming the keywords, that's what spamming is, putting a keyword in anything more than you would want to read it, right, would help you get ranked. It doesn't. In fact, now it hurts you bad. That's what's called, there's white hat SEO tactics and black hat SEO tactics. There are black hat SEO tactics that unfortunately still do work. Believe me, they won't work long. Google has a whole team. They have a really big complex in Southern California, and they hire a lot of people to fix those things and to catch people that don't really adhere to their standards and their guidelines. So again, it won't work long. Whatever is working, and that used to work. It doesn't work now. Don't do it. But yeah, keyword spamming, and that's what it is. And so you want to avoid that at all costs. And any kind of content spamming, another tactic like that people did a lot of keyword spamming in, is they put white text on a white background. And they would spam keywords on there, and they would put hundreds of either the same keyword or various keywords to make sure that whatever their content was displayed to the user, it didn't matter. They would display this, they'd have this big white area at the bottom and white text and a white background. Unless you selected all, you wouldn't even see it. So that's the kind of thing that spamming does. It's a shady sort of tactic that doesn't work very long.
Okay, and we still have about 7 minutes, so we are going to continue going as long as you guys are going to hang on until 4 p.m. Eastern. But I did want to announce the winner again, because it looks like some people are still questioning that. Maybe you stepped out for a minute, but it's Dan with Squeaky Clean Services. And I know there's a delay for some of you, so congratulations again, Dan. And back to the questions. A couple of them related. Do you suggest doing paid ads or paid search at the beginning of when you launch your site? And does paid search or does PPC help SEO?
Good question. I do. If you have a good, the marketing trifecta we've talked about, and that I know a lot of people talk to, Dan Candy, a bunch of other gurus. If you have a good message, and you know exactly who would respond well to that message, so you have a good market to talk to them about that message to, and you have a good medium to reach them in, or media to reach them with, then you have something to say. And if you have something to say, start with paid search, and if you can afford, even starting small. A lot of people think paid search has to be thousands of dollars a day. It doesn't. In fact, that's the work. Let me back up. If you start paid search and you've never done your own campaign,
first of all, I would get some really good consulting, or get some help, or study up. You can waste and burn through a lot of money quickly with paid search when you don't know. I mean, a lot. You need to know a lot. There's a lot about grouping keywords together and putting the right content and ads together and landing pages, and it just quality score. I mean, there's a lot to say about SEM that we can't cover. But what I would say is, yes, absolutely, start with paid search. Have somebody that knows what they're doing help you, or just get started on a small basis. Go find out some good basic things to do. With that said, it doesn't help you for organic SEO. Google has stood by that since the beginning of time, that paid search does not help with organic SEO. I think some people think it does because there is that residual effect of someone finding you in a paid ad and then coming back and doing a better, more refined search and finding you organically. And so then people like to think that, well, yes, they feed each other and Google rewards you. Google doesn't reward you, but the more places you're found and the more ways you can be found, the more people have a brand awareness of you, and therefore you could see organic traffic go up when you're doing paid search, right? But because of the nature of how that works. Does it make sense? I hope that does. Anyway, I recommend it, and I think it's a great way to get good search terms for your organic campaigns. In fact, I think it was probably 8 years ago, maybe 9, I wrote a blog post on why did the two have to war against each other, right? SEO and SEM, why does one have to win? Well, let one feed the other. SEO should be fed by good keyword research, and great keyword research comes from knowing what people click on most and then buy from you most when they search. So if I've got keyword A that produces 10 clicks and 9 purchases, and keyword B that produces 1,000 clicks and 2 purchases, I want keyword A all day long. I don't care that there's only 10 clicks and 1,000 on the other one. I care that there was 9 purchases, right? So, and if you don't produce something where you can actually do that, map a purchase to a click or a search, that's still valuable though. You still can track leads, you can track phone calls, you can track everything you do. And so, I know this is a little bit of a long answer, but whoever this is hit a hot spot with me. Definitely, if you can go do some paid search in the beginning, it's going to inform your SEO. It's going to give you sales and new customers, right? So even if you break even, if you've got a lifetime value of $100 on a customer and you spend $50 to get the customer, and they only buy $50 worth of stuff on their first order, most people think that's break even. But if the lifetime value is $100, that's not break even. You've made money if you know that you can get $100 out of that customer. So I recommend it, and it's a great way to feed keyword research in a really educated manner, and probably the only way you can get that kind of detail on who buys from what keyword, or who fills out the lead form from what keyword, or who calls from what keyword. It's the only way I know to get it. Well, one of the only ways I know to get it. So it's a great way to do it. Good question.
Okay, and just time for probably 2 more.
Okay.
Jim asked and re-asked, so we're going to put it up here. What do you suggest for a service company?
An SEO service company?
No, I think he means.
Oh, for him, he's got
company. What do you suggest from a mobile site perspective?
Well, it depends, Jim, on what you have, but I would say honestly, so let's pretend it's plumbing would be a service company. So if I'm a plumber, a large part of new customer acquisition for plumbers come from emergency services. And so if I'm a plumber and I see I have an emergency services section, that's when I'm going to get the mobile views, right? If the water's spewing in the basement, I'm picking up my mobile phone out of my pocket. I'm not going to go upstairs. I'm not going to go to a landline, and I have an emergency and I need you there now. So if you really focus in on emergency services, if you focus in on an industry where I think this is a great question, and it really comes down to how well Jim knows his user. So Jim, I'll pick on you, but guys, everybody on the webinar, this is still for you. If you know your user, you know your prospect, you know your customer really, really well, you're going to know not just how they buy, how they search, how they shop. You're going to know what they think, what they feel. When are they going to pick up their tablet? When are they going to pick up the phone? When are they going to get on the desktop? Where do they work? Where do they go on vacation? You're going to know all that. And so, Jim, think about your user. I'd say if you're a service company that has any emergency services or things like that, probably a separate mobile site for you. If you're a services company that is pretty 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, you may get by with a good responsive site. So.
Okay, and we'll just take one more question from Minsu. Can you explain organic traffic?
Good question, Minsu. Good one to end on as well. Organic is a SEO term. Sometimes I let them fly out and I don't even realize I'm doing it. So organic is another way to say. So there's two types on a Google search. If you go to Minsu, if you can, you're still on. Go to Google right now and do a search for chocolate candy bar. I don't know, anything. And what you'll see is at the top a sponsored listings area. Then you'll see on the left-hand side the 1 to anywhere from 14 to 15 regular sort of normal results that you're used to seeing and probably click on most often. And then on the right-hand side you'll see more sponsored listings, or you could see a big block at the top and sponsored listings underneath it. There's two types of results on a search engine results page, or a SERP. That's another SEO term, SERP, a search engine results page. One is paid listings or sponsored listings, and one is organic listings, or the listings that come up from not having to pay to be there. In other words, you were most relevant for that search done by that user on that device that day. So when we talk in terms of organic listings, we're talking about the listings underneath the sponsored listing on the left, and to the left of the sponsored listings on the right. So very hard to do without drawing for you, but definitely it's probably the listings and the results that you click on most often.
Okay, and thank you so much, Jason. Great insights, and we're getting a lot of great feedback here. Everybody says thanks for your insights. I do want to say again, thank you to Dell for sponsoring this webinar, and congratulations to Dan from Squeaky Clean Services. We will be sending you your wonderful new Dell Venue Pro 11. And I also wanted to just do a quick plug for next month's webinar. So on April 29th, we will be doing a webinar about customer loyalty. We actually just did a recent survey of a lot of our members, a lot of you probably on Manta, and heard that customer loyalty is really popping up on your radar. You want to learn how to better engage your customers. So we are going to give you 10 tips for jump-starting your customer loyalty program. So with that, we will sign off, and thanks everybody, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.